back to another episode of Let's Talk Boxing. I'm Leti.
I'm LB.
And damn, do we have a fight during the week this week.
Hey, you already know, if you guys been following our channel, we've been waiting for this fight. This is a fight that we've been wanting to see.
It's going to be hot. So we have the Super Bantamweight class division that's going to be on and popping. Yep. We have Fulton,
a.k.a. Cool Boy Steph, a.k.a. Scooter.
Out of Philly. Versus Naoya Inoue, fighting out of Japan.
A.k.a. the Monster.
Dang.
The Monster.
Boogeyman. Woo. All right.
Let's go.
So, fight's going to be in Japan.
Yeah.
In the States, I think it's going to be like hella early in the morning, Tuesday morning or something like that.
Yeah, so you know, we popping up early. We popping at dawn. We getting up early for this.
Yeah, but we're so excited to watch this fight. Again, another amazing fight this year.
Super fight.
But damn, so let's kind of just get into it. What tell us kind of how we got here and
so okay, so we got Cool Boy Steph, okay? Undefeated fighter, unified. He's the actual champion of the division. You know, he's beat 9 undefeated fighters. Mm-hmm. This is gonna be, you know, his 10th undefeated fighter that he's faced. And he is a master of that sweet science, okay? And so that's Cool Boy Steph. And then you have the monster Inoue, who is a 3-division champion, who became a champion, I believe, in 6 fights. Starting all the way from 108 pounds, so 3-division, and you know he was previously undisputed at bantam man at 118 pounds, and this man is a KO artist.
Damn, he's got a high percentage of knockouts. And so this fight is like it's gonna be where you got the power puncher, you got the boxer. But then they both can switch it up and do different styles. Yep. So that's just going to be crazy to see. And I'm really excited to see them both get in this fight to get matched up against each other. I think they already have Inoue as a pound-for-pound fighter.
Yep.
Fulton
is a pound-for-pound fighter. Over here, he's a pound-for-pound fighter. And some other people have him as a pound-for-pound fighter. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he's right there.
Yes, very slick fighter.
And this is and also I want to mention that Inoue, this is his first time moving up at this division at 122 also.
Yeah. So he did say that it's like his 5th division. He's moved it like 5 times. This is his 5th division. And it seemed like the power has gone from division to division.
It's been right there with him the whole way.
Because you know a lot of times they're like, I don't know if their power can go up to the next division up, but this one I'm just like. These many knockouts in every division that he moves up, he's knocking fighters out.
Spectacularly.
Crazy.
Spectacularly.
But we just got kind of watching the press conference.
Yeah.
For some reason, it sucked that, I don't know if we were watching the wrong one or whatever, but it wasn't translated into English. So
yeah, I really wish we would have been able to see, you know, especially when Inoue was talking. It would have been nice.
Yes, I would love to hear what he has to say, because I feel like I never hear him know really much about what he says, because there's never English translation. Yeah. But one of the things that stood out on there, I think this was the first time actually I think
face to face or whatever.
Right?
Yeah. And I wish we would have seen a face off, but we didn't get a face off. I guess we'll probably get it from the weigh-in.
Yeah. But, I mean, the only thing that I can say that stood out at the press conference is what we can understand is when Fulton's trainer was talking about something about the gloves. He didn't like the way that Inoue's team was wrapping up his gloves. I mean, I really wish that I could hear what the team
response
was saying. Yeah. So if anybody heard it, anybody understood, Japanese, please let us know down below what they were saying, because I'm very curious to see what, the response was. Based off just the body language, I just see that Inoue is just kind of like laughing, like, okay, but I want to know what he said.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of hit on a little bit. So in certain parts of the United States, the way that Inoue was wrapping his hands is illegal in some parts of the United States, but in some of the parts of the United States, it's actually legal. So in Japan, it's also legal there to wrap his hands the way that he's been wrapping his hands. But even in places like the UK, I saw Sonny Edwards come out and say you can't do this in the UK. So that's just that's one of the reasons why it'd be good for there to be one commission where we have a universal rules, so we don't have to deal with things like this.
Exactly. Especially since the sport's international, it needs to be one.
So it would be nice.
But that's pretty much kind of all I got from the press conference. They really didn't even look at each other. So seeing them kind of next to each other though, I feel like Fulton's a little taller.
Yeah, than Inoue. Definitely.
But let's kind of get into the fighters.
Let's go.
So as we know, that Fulton's going out there to fight to defend his titles.
Yeah, and he's a champ too. I mean, we don't see other champions do that. To go over there in Inoue's hometown, with the crowds against him, a whole country against him. This is the fight that I get excited for. And I was telling her, like, even before, like, once the fight got announced, I was like, she asked me, like, if there's any fight that you would want to go to, I was like, this is the one, to be over there. Because even when I was in sports, I always enjoyed fighting on the road. It's just something about that atmosphere where people want you to lose. I just get up for it.
Yeah.
And so this was the one, and I'm excited. And no other champion's really doing this. I mean, we saw Devin do it, but
that was in contract.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how the crowd's going to be also. If they're gonna be, loud or not, it's just gonna be all kinds of stuff that I'm just gonna be excited to watch. But I mean, actually one of the things that they had asked Inoue is like, how do you feel? This is the first time you're gonna fight someone like Fulton, and then he was like, well, this is the first time that he's gonna fight someone like me also. And I gotta say, with Fulton, I mean, he has fought. The last fight that I could think of is Figueroa. That's just that puncher that he had hella high knockouts, also kind of like Inoue. But he managed to weather the storm on there. Now, Fulton, all I gotta say about this fight is if he wants to win the fight, he got to stick to his game plan. Because I feel like in that Figueroa fight, he ended up fighting Figueroa's fight, and it was kind of a close fight at some point. But I gotta say, Cool Boy Steph is hella slick when it comes to fighting. He's got great defense, right? Like you say, that Philly style defense.
Yeah, you do.
And he showed us in that Figueroa fight that he can bang if you want to bang. He can fight. I feel like that was good practice for him on the inside. He knew how to block punches even on the inside. Even when he would get up in the ropes, I feel like he knew how to block himself from certain punches. And even a lot of the punches that were landing from Figueroa, I feel like a lot of them were kind of landing on the gloves for him. Yeah,
and I think you have you realize something. Do you have something you have to
say? Yeah. Rewatching the fight, I feel like it was a close fight, but I definitely think that Fulton definitely did win that fight.
Okay, so she's on board now.
He did, but because he was blocking a lot of the punches. He, as we know, when he wants to box, he can box his ass off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sweet science, man.
Yeah, he can move around the ring gracefully. Great condition, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Good from the beginning to the end. And I'm just excited to see him fight someone like Inoue.
Yep.
And I mean, the reason why I'm going to say that is just because I feel like Inoue can box also, and he can come forward, and he's a puncher. So I'm just like, I don't want to say they're like mirrors because they definitely have different styles of fighting. But we definitely have Inoue that come in, and he's got a great jab also. He could double up on the jab. He goes to the body, I feel like, very well. And he sits on those punches when it comes to the body shots with the left hand. So I'm just kind of curious how this is going to match up. It's like you have Inoue that can box too if he wants to, throw hard-ass punches, but then you have the slick fighter that can block those punches and can counter very well as well. So, I don't know. This is just going to be a very just 50-50 fight for me.
Okay.
But what do you think about it?
Yeah, so...
Do you have someone that you feel like you think is going to win?
Oh, yeah. But yeah, we won't wait till we get to that.
Okay.
But I'm going to say this. The fact that you brought up, that you think Fulton needs to stick to his game plan. One of the things, after he won that Figueroa fight, he received a lot of backlash, and people were saying that he didn't win the fight, and a lot of even though a lot of people were feeling like he didn't win the fight, and since then, even though if you rewatch it, he definitely won the fight. I always thought he won the fight, but if you hear him talk about afterwards, he said that I fought him the way I fought him at his fight. And I say that because, you know, Stephen Fulton is definitely a chameleon. We've seen him fight on the outside. We've seen him fight at every single range. After that Figueroa fight, he goes, you know what? I've been fighting for the fans. He goes, you know, so now I'm gonna give him, you know, I'm gonna fight for me and what, you know, my style. And so I definitely think that this is gonna be different in this fight. Yeah. And you saw the clear difference when he fought Danny Roman, you know, where he was fighting on the, fighting on the outside. Dominated. So definitely, you know, I think he's definitely gonna stick to that game plan. But yeah, just to kind of talk about a little bit more about what, you know, these fighters do well. You know, like I said, you know, Fulton, he's a master of that sweet science. But like you said, he showed us he could fight on the inside. I remember probably one of his favorite fights for me is when he fought Angelo Leo. Angelo Leo, you know, prior to that, you know, Angelo Leo, you know, he was known as a body puncher, went to the body. And then Fulton, you know, at that time, you know, he really didn't show that aspect of his game of fighting in the inside. And then he showed everyone that, hey, look, I can fight on the inside too. And then the Brandon Figueroa fight, you know, most people thought he was going to be on the inside, but he was actually sitting in there trading, banging on the inside with Brandon Figueroa. So you definitely got different, you know, definitely got different styles to his game. His jab, he's got one of the best jabs in the game. And then you got Inoue on the other side. That man has power in both hands. He got a nasty left hook who was taught by Nonito Donaire, you know, who's got that patented left hook. And, you know, he's been hurting everybody with that left hook. But just as good as that left hook that he got a nasty right hand, overhand right. And and he probably has my favorite right hand in the game right now, you know, outside of Deontay Wilder. The way that right hand comes out from Inoue, especially it can be short or long, it's fast, explosive, and it will put you out. Yes. And so, Inoue, he's definitely, both of these fighters are super conditioned. You talked about Inoue. Inoue does have a good jab, a good power. And so that's just a little bit about, you know, more about, you know, the fighters and what they bring. But, yeah.
And I mean, I do got to say, I talked about how Fulton was blocking a lot of the punches and you with Figueroa. But damn, you know, we know that with Inoue, even if he's, you know, punching and landing on gloves, that shit, you hear that thump and that shit is going to hurt, you know? Yep. So I'm just feel like, for Inoue on his side, I feel like he gotta not slow down and keep coming and try to get to the body for Fulton to try and slow him down a little bit because we know he's gonna be flowing on feet, you know. So I think like he needs to really go to the body, try to cut the ring off with him, and just nonstop. Of course, you know, use a jab because like I said, he does have a good jab, but you got to throw in some combinations in there also, not just rely on the jab specifically for Inoue. And as for Fulton, you gotta box your ass off.
So you kind of want to get, because you know I'm gonna go. So you.
But look, if I'm being honest, I feel like we've been having so many good fights this year.
This is a banger.
And I've always been like, okay, I'm gonna lean a little more to this. This one, I just don't know who's gonna win this fight because you have, like I said, you got the slick boxer, good counter puncher, but then you have the other fighter that can still come in and probably take punches to give a punch that's going to make damage to the other opponent. So I'm just like, shit, I really don't know who's going to win this fight. Like, I really don't know.
Okay, so you're going to make a decision or?
I don't know who's going to win. Who do you think?
Okay. All right, so, hey, let's get into it. Go ahead.
We need like 1%.
Hey, yo, what you going to do? What you going to do?
Okay, so if I had to, but like I'm gonna say, just going, you know, based off like cement and paper, going based off that, I'm gonna say I'm gonna lean 1% towards one fighter. I'm gonna say 1%, and I feel like I'd be leaning towards Cool Boy Steph, just because we've seen how he can use his jab to keep fighters out also. So, and just the way he moves around the ring and how slick he is, and you know, skills, what we say, pays bills. I just feel like I would lean 1% towards 1%. Step. Okay. Yeah, but Inoue got a fucking huge chance also.
Okay.
And Inoue is coming up also. This is, like you say, it's his first time Cool Boy Steph said he feel real good, conditioned, strong. He's eating 3 times a day, even though it's fight week. Thanks to his dietitian, but I'm gonna just leave it at that. I think if anything, 1% maybe towards Cool Boy Steph. Okay. But who do you got?
And okay, so I'm sorry. This is. Hey, look, y'all gonna have to bear with me because look, I love both of these fighters, and so yeah, I'm definitely we gonna break it down a little bit. So I feel like when it comes to this fight, I feel like there's large fans on one side or the other. I feel like for example. For Fulton, a lot of fighters, a lot of fans who are like super, on the Fulton side, they look at Inoue and they feel like they have questions for Inoue. And the reason why they say that is because when it comes to the smaller division, there's been pretty much, recent times, there's been 2 fighters who have really got, I feel like, the U.S. attention over here from the smaller weight classes. And that is a Nonito Donaire and also a Chocolatito, okay? Now, and so when we kind of look at that, so Inoue, he was in the same weight class at one point with a Chocolatito, and why didn't we get that fight? And also, Inoue did skip over a division, but if we're being honest about it, when Inoue left the division at 115, when Chocolatito also had a title in the same division. He was only at 14 fights. So, 14 fights to then get in there with Chocolatito, I understand why the fight, a part of me understands why the fight didn't happen.
Well, not even that, but would Chocolatito and them take the fight, because they're probably wanting to fight bigger names at that time.
Well, I think, yeah, Chocolatito and them, they fighting everybody. It would have been for a title, it would have been a unification. So I definitely think that Chocolatito would have took the fight, but it's just like, I just don't think the timing of that only being 14 fights. And the other thing, Inoue is, just blowing through guys, and then he fights a Chocolatito, that would have been a lot of his 14 fights. Now, on the other side, now the fans that are on the Inoue side, they're like, okay, we look at Fulton, we look at him, he fought that Brandon Figueroa fight, we seen his other fights. And look at the shots that Brandon Figueroa was able to land. He's not going to be able to take those shots from Inoue. So that's how they're one-sided. Now, if we're being honest about that, Fulton literally fought, coming into that fight, he said, hey, I can fight on the inside. I like to fight on the inside. And he chose to fight that way. And so I don't think that it's going to be the same, the same type of fight. And if we're talking, and the other thing about, I will say this, that I'm not going to argue about, is the power of Inoue. I definitely think that power is going to be there, just like it's been there from every division.
I think so too.
And just to kind of talk even a little bit more about why I think that, we saw him in there with, I know I'm going to mess up his name, it's just sparring, but he got in there. We seen him in there with a Havanesian. Havanesian is he's a power puncher at 122. We seen him in there with Luis Neri, and it took Luis Neri some time to get him out of there. I think it was like 10 or 11 where he got him out of there. And so Havanesian is a tough guy. Was a real 122 pounder, and so for him to in the sparring match, I was with big gloves and with a headgear. And then also you got Nonito Donaire, who's been in there with different fighters of different divisions also. He says like, hey, Inoue, he was probably the hardest puncher that I faced, and he's talked about the speed of Inoue.
Yeah, he got him on the second round of the second fight.
Yeah. And he talked about,
speed's good.
Yeah, and so, it kind of made me think, because we did see Nonito Donaire move up to 126 and fight Nicholas Walters, who had a lot of knockouts at the division at 126, and he was getting hit by him, and he was able to stop Nonito, and he said that Inoue hit harder than him.
Damn.
But Walters actually felt the heaviest handed, than he's faced. He felt heavier handed than Inoue, and so that's how I kind of think about the power. So that's why I say, hey, Inoue's power is real. You look at Inoue's knockouts. You know, it's really amazing to see.
Yeah.
One of my favorite knockout performances for him was against Manuel Rodriguez. You know, he, in that small amount of time, you know, the fight didn't last long, but it was just spectacular to watch. You know, he hurt him with a left hook, and then it's like, let me just kind of break down how he knocked him out, why I like it so much. So he landed a left hook, and then he set up the left hook to drop him, which was crazy. You know, the way I feel like he's a KO artist who actually sets his punches up well, and he has good punch placement. So before he drops Rodriguez with the left hook, he lands a left hook right before that, and then he comes down to the body just to set up the left hook again and drops him, right? And you know, and I think
me more excited.
And I think Rodriguez was undefeated at that time. And then Rodriguez, you know, he gets up, and then after that, you know, he hurts Rodriguez to the body, like, and it just shows that he, you know, like you were saying, he's such a good body puncher, and you know, he got power up top. So he's definitely got, you know, good boxing IQ, and you know, he's one of those, you know, like KO artists that sets up his punches very well. Mm-hmm. And so now, now the other thing I want to talk about is Fulton. Now, a lot of the times, you know, you see these fighters who are brought up, you know, you see them get, you know, you can see them get match made, you see them get, you know, developmental fights. This man, Fulton, has been thrown in the fire more than a lot of these fighters today. This man has been fighting nothing but undefeated fighters. You know, and Inoue, this is going to be only Inoue's second time fighting an undefeated fighter. And Fulton's fought, this is going to be his 10th undefeated fighter. So, you know, he's definitely familiar in that type of, you know, in this type of, you know, fighting an undefeated fighter. And, you know, for the most part, you know, Fulton has, you know, he's been in there with, you know, bigger guys. I mean, we talked about Brandon Figueroa. Brandon Figueroa just moved up, and he was huge. Yeah. And yes, anybody's like, it doesn't even make sense. People are shocked that he's even fighting at 126. And so, and another thing, you know, you know, Brandon Figueroa was known as a body puncher, and he was hurting everyone to the body, stopping everybody. It's different than Inoue. And I think the power is a little different. I think Inoue, you know, Inoue's got that snappy timing and speed that's getting him those knockouts. And Brandon Figueroa is more of a body puncher, like break you down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like Inoue could even just one time get you out of there. Figueroa, it's the amount of punches that he throws, like you said, breaking down. But, so I mean, who do you think has a better resume between both of them?
Okay, so when it comes to better resumes, I would say that Fulton has a better resume. If you look at Inoue's best opponent, it's clearly Nonito Donaire. And, you know, and I say that for the simple fact of, you know, people say Nonito Donaire, they'll say Narvaez, and they'll say Emmanuel Rodriguez. So just to kind of go why Nonito is the best opponent, Nonito beat Narvaez before Inoue. And then if we go to Emmanuel Rodriguez was undefeated when he fought Inoue, but you know, he did lose a decision to I think it's Caballo, and we saw Nonito Donaire come in and stop Caballo. So you know, that's why.
And I mean, he did go 12 rounds in the first fight. He did go 12 rounds for him and broke Inoue's. And the thing is, when I say about this, you know, everyone knows that, you know, Nonito, when he fought Inoue, that's not the prime of Nonito Donaire. It's not the prime of him, but is Nonito fighting at a high level still, a good level? Absolutely. You know, we just see him stop, you know, these different champions, and he's probably going to fight another champion coming up. So, you know, that's why I say Nonito Donaire is the best opponent. Now, Fulton, I would probably say, you know, just all his undefeated fighters. I mean, to fight Brandon Figueroa, also Danny Roman, also undefeated fighters. You know, fighters who have never been beat. So I would definitely say that he has the better, you know, the better resume. And to talk a little bit more about Inoue's, you know, a little bit more about his resume. Yeah, you know, Nonito is the best person on his resume. But we've seen some of these other guys that he's been in there with against other guys, and he has clearly outperformed them. Like when he's been in there with Payano, and Payano, we've seen him in there with Luis Neri. And Luis Neri is known to have power, and Luis Neri, it took him a lot longer
to get him out of there. We see, and I already mentioned, Emmanuel Rodriguez. We seen Emmanuel Rodriguez in there with Gary Antonio Russell and gave him all Russell could take. So I say that to say that, hey, even though Nonito is his best, this fight is even though he didn't have those other guys on his resume, the eye test says a lot. Mm-hmm. The other thing I want to talk about is the size. So I do think that Stephen Fulton will be able to take Inoue's power a lot better than the other fighters that he's faced, for the simple fact of that he is a real 122 pounder.
Yeah, but that power ain't no joke.
No, it ain't.
I feel like he's not gonna want to stay in exchange too much with Inoue. He's gonna have to box around.
And to talk a little bit more about the power, like I said, I believe in the power. Yeah. Inoue, he spars up. He spars 130 pounders, 135 pounders. I remember when he went into Robert Garcia's gym, they were all in his weight class, and he was like, "Oh, they're too small." and then Robert Garcia and them, they went and watched him spar at Wildcard in California, and they saw him in there with 130 and 135 pounders, and he was like, "Oh, okay, I see now." So I say that to say the power is real. He spars Adam Lopez, who is also in there with Stephen Fulton. We just saw Adam Lopez against
we did.
Oscar Valdez. So I definitely think that he spars up. But I will say this about Fulton. Fulton also spars up. He sparred the likes of Devin Haney and a KO artist in Gervonta Tank Davis.
And he said he sparred another. Oh gosh, I got Boots. He said he been there also with this little thing,
Yeah, but
feeling
Boots
his power,
Yeah, but Boots probably just touching his stuff, But yeah, so the thing I want to talk about is the size. He's a real 122 pounder. Inoue is coming up from 108. And I say that to say that I think that he's going to be able to take the punches better than, his previous opponents that Inoue has faced. I say that because, if you ask Nonito Donaire, he was like, the punch that really got me out of there, or really hurt me, is the one I didn't see. And they tell you,
what they all say.
Yeah, and that's the one. But if you look at he was able to take some clean shots from him, the ones that he saw coming. And I say this the same thing, his last fight against Butler was able to take some shots too that he saw coming. And Butler was a guy coming up who's fought as low as 108 also. So this is the first 122 pounder that he's gonna see. Even Nonito Donaire has been as low as 112. He was a champion at 112, and he's talked about going down to 115. So, Nonito's definitely a smaller fighter when it comes to Fulton, and Fulton's talked about how big it is, moving up, and how he's ready to move up. So I definitely think that the size is gonna make a difference. The other thing I want to talk to you now, if we get to the X's and O's kind of about it, I feel like both of these fighters have a good jab, but I feel like when it comes to the jab game, Fulton has the better jab. Now, Inoue has been in there with, people that have a jab, that use the jab to set up, their power punches, set up their punches. He has not been in there. Now, Fulton, on the other hand, will be the first person that he gets in there with that uses the jab to manage the distance, to, like you said, to keep him out and to control range. He hasn't been in there with someone who likes to do that. Now, and on top of that, leading up into this fight, they've always said, his camp, they haven't been in there with a fighter like Fulton, and Fulton is as slick as they come. When you talk about the sweet science, he's up there with anybody. And how many times do we see, top fighters or top prospects, or the first time they get in there with someone who can box and move, it gives them problems. And that's not even someone who's been talked about on the level of Stephen Fulton.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even when we talked about Nonito Donaire going up to 126, the guy he was fighting, Nicholas Walters, he wasn't perceived as a pound for pound, or as a guy like Stephen Fulton. So this is definitely, I think that's definitely gonna pay. That's definitely gonna make a difference.
Man, I'm so mad the fight's not today.
Yeah.
But okay.
And the other thing, I do think that like I said, the power is real. But even when you see someone like Tank, the power is real. Obviously, when he moves up divisions, but it was a little different when he moved up and fought a Mario Barrios. That one shot that normally get people out of there, it didn't get Mario Barrios out of there. It was a little later. And now Mario Barrios, on the other hand, isn't as good of a boxer as a Stephen Fulton. And so I definitely see that, giving Inoue problems, him trying to cut off the ring. He was working on cutting off the ring with Butler, but I feel like Inoue hasn't seen somebody with this type of speed also. Usually he's got like a huge speed advantage. Now, I don't think that advantage is going to be like that. The other thing, not only as the footwork of Fulton is crazy. He hasn't seen nobody with Fulton's footwork either. And not only is he going to give you good footwork, he's going to give you a lot of feints. And, you hear Nonito Donaire breaking down the fight on what the game plan was leading into that second fight. He's like, I was going in there to box him, but you guys know me. I love to fight. Bang. I love to bang. But in these small instances, even in the first fight, when he did chose to box and he did chose to make him think, he had a lot of success. Even in that second fight, even though it was short, Inoue took care of business. In the small instances where he did chose the box, you can see Inoue, he was lunging a little bit, and some of his punches were falling short. Now Fulton, he gonna be popping that jab in him, and so I definitely think that's gonna definitely play a part in this fight. So
a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. But the thing about Inoue is also, I'll probably say he's the most athletic fighter that Fulton has seen in the professional arena since he's fought. And one thing about Inoue, that man is explosive and that man can cut the distance fast. So for that reason, I think that Fulton, I can see Fulton, boxing, from the outside. And really giving him, a hard time making him lunge and being able to pay. Both of these fighters can counter, and so I think that Fulton will be able to land some nice counters too. The other thing that Inoue does really well is he's got great timing and he loves to come over the top of a jab. Another thing that he does is he likes to catch you in between shots. So Fulton's definitely gonna have to look out for that. And I feel like, when it comes to Fulton, I feel like him, the way that he's been, he's come up fighting these undefeated fighters, he's definitely been improved a lot from where he started. Certain shots that he was getting caught with coming up, he no longer gets caught with. So I'm just excited for this fight. Both of these fighters keep improving. So for all of these things that I'm saying, I think that for the most part, that this is just these different things being the first time that Inoue is sent, I think that's going to be given the most problems. And, they always say, a big skill fighter beats a smaller skill fighter. And, Fulton got all the skills. And so for that reason, I'm going with Steven Cool Boy Steph, a.k.a. Scooter, for the W.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to be a fan because I'm a fan of both. Sit back and enjoy this fight at a real early time, and it's just gonna pop the day off really cool. I'm just really excited because it's gonna be both the names, regardless of who wins. It's gonna be a great resume, and I think it's only gonna make them that much better for both fighters. Oh yeah, and
I think as the fights how the fights kind of go, I see Fulton, boxing from the outside, and it's gonna be on. I feel like it's gonna be on Inoue to kind of cut that distance. And then as the fight gets on, Fulton's been talking about, his powers being slept on. So I see him stepping to Inoue later in the rounds. One thing about Inoue, that man is a mid-range monster. That man is he is very dangerous in the mid-range, and he knows his distance to land his punches and where he needs to be. I think Fulton's either going to operate, either he's going to be all the way out or he's going to be all the way in. And I think, when he chooses to, to be all the way in, I think it's going to be later in the fight where he'll be able to, use more of that size after, Inoue's been chasing him a little bit.
After feeling Inoue's power, so he'll know, I can take some of these or let me stay more on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, and so definitely I can see that. And then, you know, because even if you look at that Roman fight, you know, he started stepping to Roman after, you know, from 11 to 12.
He did, but again, I don't think Roman had that power.
No, he didn't have that power, but I'm just saying.
So I'm just thinking, I think Cool Boy needs to cut. Well, we'll see. I see him fight more on the outside, not trying to get them ropes or too much on the inside.
Yeah.
I said, Inoue got that one power, one hand knockout.
But it is a new division.
I know.
At 122.
Steven did say he a better fighter, and he look. I'm
and
just here to enjoy the fight.
But we just obviously, you know, we just can't wait for this.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm excited to come back and do the recap.
We can't wait.
Talking about who the winner was.
Yeah.
And this is again, it's gonna be great for both fighters. If Fulton even said, look, in between the Crawford and the Spence fight, whoever's the winner of that fight, whoever's the winner of this fight, we both got beat like the top 2 pound for pound.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited to come back and do the recap.
We're excited.
Who the winner was.
Yeah, we're excited. So make sure you guys set your alarms to get up for this.
If you out in the States.
Yeah. But as you can tell, we can't wait for this. Let us know below how you see this fight going or who you guys got in this fight. But that's all we got. So thanks for tuning in, y'all.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Or talk your shit. And we out.